Welcome, welcome, welcome to our first wonderful live call here in Open to Receive. I'm very excited to have you with me, and I'm very excited, and I want to really say well done to all of you who are participating, whether you're new in my world, whether you've been in my world, whether you've done work with me before, whether we've spoken about this stuff or not. This is incredible. I'm so proud of you, and you are doing absolutely amazing. Okay, I'm very proud of you for being here. If you're watching the recording, well done also. And thank you for your questions. Some of you have given me questions in advance. For those of you who are live or on the call, you can start writing your questions and typing out your questions, or you can put your hand up and I will just literally, we'll have a conversation. So we can do it either way. So what I want to kind of start with, this is Open to Receive. So just before we get into some questions and some wonderful hot seat coaching, if we want to call it this, I want to talk to you a little bit. I just want to kind of frame everything that we're doing here. This is about noticing what's already present in you, what's already present in your world, what's already present for you. Now, without getting too woo, who believes in woo? Who's a wooper? Hands up. Yeah, fabulous. Okay, who loves a bit of woo? Okay, but without getting too woo, but it is woo. It is and it isn't. It's also science. Some of you have heard me talk about quantum physics, and you've heard me talk about the observer effect. Now, the observer effect has proven to us categorically through science that every possible thing that we want is right here. It's all here. It's right here for the taking. It has proven it to us categorically. Who's heard me talking about the observer effect? And who hasn't? Put a no if you have not heard of the observer effect. I have a feeling that most of you probably have, because you've probably come in from programs with me before. Is there anyone that has not heard of the observer effect and in quantum physics before? And the field of potentiality. Put in a no if you have not heard me talking about that. But I don't know. Okay, so just to reiterate about this, just want to reiterate it. In quantum physics, it was studied, it was watched, it was observed, and it was proven that when you shoot an atom, the smallest piece of matter, the smallest piece of physical matter, through a kind of a machine onto a screen, it does what expected, right? It goes in a straight line, as you would expect. Right? If I pointed something and I shot a gun in a straight line, we would expect the bullet to land in a straight line, wouldn't we? Unless we're in the Matrix and the bullet starts turning and we're able to dodge it. And that's kind of what they were, I suppose, explaining in the film The Matrix. But this is actually science. It was proven in quantum physics. So what they witnessed and what they found out by chance was that when the machine, this wonderful machine, was recording stuff, when the human beings with the human eye was observing this, the machine, the atom, like a bullet, like the smallest little piece of matter, did what was expected, and it went in a straight line. Okay, and it hit the screen in a straight line. But when the humans, with their observing eyes, went out of the room, but the machine still calculated what the machine was doing, because the machine was just firing these atoms. It calculated the atoms went everywhere. So the atom was calculated on the machine that it went everywhere. It did every possible solution imaginable. It went this way, went that way, went this way, went all the ways. So when they went back to observing it with the human eye, the machine went back to recording it as it was doing, which was going in a straight line, just hitting the wall straight in a line. And when it was unobserved by the human eye, it did everything. Now that proved categorically that this is what's called the field of potentiality, that when an atom, a piece of matter, physical matter, something that supposedly is solid and exists, right, is observed by the human eye, it responds as expected. It performs as expected. Remember from my programs, you've probably been in some of my programs, expectancy, expect and see. it responds and performs as you expect it to do, and it goes in a straight line. And when it is not observed by the human eye, in other words, there's no expectancy of what do we expect it to do, it does everything. So in other words, I want to kind of qualify, I want to start this call off with this. This program is to help you to open up to receiving more, right? Some of you are here because you want to receive more love. Some of you are here because you want to receive more money. Some of you are here because you just want to receive more self-approval, more peace. Some of you are here because you want all of that. And what I want to share with you is that all of this is available to you. And as woo as it sounds, and as kind of, I know some of you like practical stuff. Okay, show me the money, show me how to make it in practical steps. But 99.999% of this is your energy, your frequency, and what you are focused on and what you expect. And when you're expecting one thing, something to happen, like the way that you have been expecting it to do, that's what you are receiving, because that's what you're expecting. That's the results that we're getting. So not consciously, but in our whole system. So what we're doing here was we're rewiring, we're regulating our nervous system to be able to open up to more. It's not about bringing stuff in, it's about releasing our self-protection mechanisms, because most of us are in fight or flight. Most of us are in old past programming. So we're still expecting the old results from the past, so we cannot see what's right in front of us. Does this make sense? So a lot of this program is not about necessarily bringing in more, because it's all here. It's actually all here. It's about helping you to relax. I don't really like the word relax, but it's about helping you to release enough, to open up enough, to be able to see the wood from the trees, to be able to see what's available for you. Because when we're blinkered, when we're tight and squished and in protection and expecting old results, expecting, oh yeah, but my partner always acts like this, so of course he's going to act like this, or my boss always behaves this way, or I always get this result, or I never get the sale, or I never get the client, or nobody loves me and everybody always leaves me. If we're expecting that, we're going to just keep seeing that. So, and we're tensing for that because we're expecting that. So what we want to do is, we're so convinced of that old program. What we're doing here is we're rewiring you. We're helping your body to let go and get comfortable with different things so that it can open up to receive different things. Does this make sense? Okay, so receiving begins with awareness. Now, some of you may have heard this story before. Tell me if this is landing. Is this making sense? Who's loving open to receive by now? Give me a yes in the chat. Who's loving it? Who's loving it? Okay, move those fingers. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, thank you. Come on, give me some love. I'm open to receiving. I'm open to receiving. Okay, so I want to share a little story with you. Now, I'm an animal lover, so some of you have heard this before. I'm so sorry. And no animals were hurt or harmed in the making of this video. Okay, so I know a lot about how animals are captured because I'm a big animal lover. So that sounds really weird because anyway. But so monkeys, some of you may have heard this story, but monkeys in the wild are captured in a very unusual way. Who's heard this story before? And what they do is they often put this box that they've made, handmade box by human beings, that they put this box in an opening in the woods, not the woods, is it the jungle, the forest? Where do monkeys live? In woods? Wherever monkeys live. And they put this wooden box, right? But they've very cleverly cut a hole in this wooden box. And the wooden box is a little round hole, just a small little round hole. And in this box, they've placed the most beautiful nut that you can ever imagine, a monkey's dream. And they place this gorgeous, beautiful, perfect, ripe, smelly, wonderful nut in the center of this little wooden box. And they go off and hide. And eventually the monkeys come along and see the box, come up to the box, sniff around the box, look into the box, into the little hole, and they see this beautiful, big, beautiful, delicious nut. And they want the nut. So what do? They figure out how to get in, and they see this little hole and they squeeze their hand through. They squeeze their hand through that little tiny hole. They squeeze their hand through and they grab the nut. And then guess what happens? They try to pull their hand out of the little hole, but they can't. Why? Because they're holding on to this lovely big juicy nut. And they try and they try and they try and they try. And while they're trying and determined not to let go of the nut, guess what happens? The men, the people, the humans that were watching in the background quietly creep up and capture that poor little monkey. And that's what they do. Now, that monkey was captured because he wouldn't let go of those nuts, right? He wasn't able to let go. All he had to do was release, let go, and he could have got his hand free. But he was so determined to hold on to that nut. Now, there's a little bit of a metaphor in that, right? That sometimes we've got to let go of things that we believe that we need, that we want, that they're past stuff. Sometimes we've just got to let go because we're keeping ourselves trapped by not releasing. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, you can also imagine it this way. Imagine holding your hand out, but your fist is clenched tight. Now, that fist, like some of you know, I'm a black belt, right? That fist can keep you safe, obviously, to an extent. It also maybe has held things together in your life, right? It's helped you, I mean, it's a metaphor. I'm not saying you're necessarily going around punching people, but it's helped you to survive, okay? But no matter how hard you try, and I don't like the word try, nothing can be placed, can it, in a closed hand? You can't put anything into a closed hand, can you? You cannot. You got to open it up. So this work, this stuff that we're doing here in Open to Receive, is teaching your system that it is safe to open, to receive, even if just a little bit, little by little, little by little, little by little. So many people think that they struggle to receive because like they're not ready, or they're not worthy, or they're not doing enough. There's more people coming in, great. But what I see over and over and over and over again, it's just that our nervous system is actually, believe it or not, already full to capacity. We're full of kind of holding on to those nuts. we're full of holding on to things. We're full of bracing and tensing and preparing for battle and fights and arguments and trouble and difficulty and strife and all the rest. We're full up with managing and leading ourselves and living and surviving and struggling and problems and arguments. We're full up. Okay, now trying to pour more, like, sorry, looks disgusting. This is my green juice drink. Trying to pour more, into it, okay, into an already full vessel, creates what? Overflow. Overwhelm for us. So this week, what we've been doing so far is about creating space. Gently, very safely, very intentionally. Okay. And I know a lot of you may have noticed emotions that you didn't expect. Maybe you've listened to voices, thoughts that you'd rather not hear. And all of this, nothing doesn't mean that there's something wrong, doesn't mean that you're doing anything the wrong way, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you're actually seeing possibly old wiring you're like that you haven't looked at for a long time, that you maybe haven't seen ever. Maybe it's the first time that you've ever noticed it. So awareness isn't the problem. Awareness is the doorway. It's the way to open up. Okay, we can't change a room that we refuse to enter. But the moment you step inside, now you have ability to change it. So we're kind of introducing your whole system into the idea, into the concept that something different is possible for you. Like allowing your eyes to adjust into a dark room that you might go into. So receiving happens when your body recognizes that it's safe for it to do so. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, we better get going. I'm going to answer some questions. Will I start with the questions? I have 2 questions that people gave me. Is there anybody here? You can put your hand up if you know how to do your hand up on the thing, or just raise it. Is there anyone here that maybe has to go soon and would like to ask a question before they go? So I'll put it out first to anyone that's in a major rush, and if not, I'll ask the questions. I'll answer the questions, the 2 that are here that somebody had asked me beforehand. You can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself, or you can put a yes in the chat if there is anybody here that would like to ask a question. No? Okay. Well, I start with the questions that were asked then. And then if anybody wants to ask something afterwards, you can. If it sparks off any ideas, anything you would like to cover. I'd love to know, actually, before I answer these 2 questions that people have sent, I'd love to know, where are you in your Open to Receive online program? Where are you in that? What day are you on? I know some of you, might be some mentorees here. You will know this as the 90-day program. So this is an opportunity for you to restart again if you've already started. So let me know, what day are you on? If you're in the mentorship and you have the full 90-day program, this is a great opportunity for you to revisit it or restart and have this support. Okay. Day 4, read the homework but not filled in the answers. Okay. Okay. That's good. That's great. Let me know how are you finding it? Is it going well? Are you stuck? Is that why you haven't answered filled in the answers, or just you want to take your time on it? I'd love to know. Day 2, that's perfectly fine. That's wonderful. Day 2 is good. Day 6, going to do it today. Well done. Well done, Janet. That's great. Rachel, you're ill. That's totally allowed. You're allowed. Yeah, that's totally okay. Amina, day 5. Well done. Karen, I just wanted to let the questions percolate. I love that. Okay, awesome. Okay, take your time and answer them when you feel ready. And obviously, if you guys have any questions, anything up to now, day 5, this is your opportunity to ask me. If you feel you're stuck somewhere, if you feel you're struggling at one point, if you feel you're loving it, you're getting clarity, it's helping you, I'd love to hear your feedback. Day 5, just done the reading but not the written homework. Okay, awesome. Well done, Karina. Well done. So if there's anything you want to ask, you can even put it in the chat of any of the days if you want. Or if you want to come on and have a conversation about it, obviously you can as well. Okay, I'm going to start with the questions that I have here. I think I put it here somewhere. Let me find it. Okay, so the first question was from Liz. Okay. Is she on the call? I think she couldn't come on the call. One of them, I think, or both of these couldn't come on the call. So this is why they're asking. So now if you're on this call and if you're not in the mentorship with me and as yet, and you use this time, take the opportunity. Let's do some coaching. Let's look at this deeper. Let me help you. Let's go a little bit deeper with it. So take the opportunity, be brave, be open to receiving, some coaching, some insight, some inspiration. Let's go a little bit deeper. So think about something you'd like to maybe converse about, and we can have a little bit of a deeper, wonderful conversation. Up to date with WhatsApp, but the other content I'm not connecting with, I'm not sure why. So it's kind of going in connection with it. So I'd love to know where is it just the method? Is it that you prefer the voice notes versus the written form? I'd love to know, is that where it is? Maybe you haven't got to the videos as yet. In the 28 days, there's a video each week, and there's a recorded video, and then there's an audio each week. So the written content, some people like more, some people like less. Some people love the voice notes. The voice notes, I suppose, are lovely to listen to when you're maybe doing something. So they're nice to kind of get into. And I would re-listen to them as well, because you'll get more from it the more times you re-listen as well. Okay, so Maria, if you fancy coming on about it, we can talk about that and see why you're not connecting with it. If we're in the BBMM, do we have to sign up to the WhatsApp group? Yes, I put in the Blackbelt Mastermind Academy, there is a thread, there is a post there of how to join the WhatsApp group. But afterwards I can add you to it, or I might know, because I don't have your number, Lizzie. So check the thread in the Facebook group. It should be one of the first threads in the Blackbelt Mastermind Academy, and you'll find it there, how to join the WhatsApp group. Okay. Okay, so the question is, first question I have here is, I will have missed the first few posts of the WhatsApp group. Yeah, there's a lot of people coming in late. I might repost the whole 6 again, because there was a few people that have come in late, or else once you join, I'll have your WhatsApp. I might send them to you privately, all of them, so you can hear them all. Okay. Okay. So the question is, I just wondered if you attend to an inner voice in the same way as a feeling or emotion, I be aware of it with curiosity. My inner critic is so loud and so negative, I have a tendency to ignore it, as sitting with it feels a lot. Okay, so the question is basically, should we sit with an inner voice with our inner voice in the same way, with our inner critic in the same way as when we notice a feeling or emotion? Okay, should we observe this with curiosity? Okay, and Liz, I don't think she's on this call, so you'll be watching the recording. So this is a great question. And I'm really, really glad that you're asking this for everybody. So the short answer is, no, we don't do it the same way as we do with emotions. Yes, we do bring awareness to the voice, to the inner voice, but not in the same way that we want to sit with our feelings. And the reason is this: if a feeling is a body experience. Your inner critic, that's a strategy. That's a strategy. It's a voice that developed to manage or avoid feeling something that probably at one point felt too much. Does that make sense? It's a coping mechanism. So your inner critic is a coping mechanism that you developed, that we all developed, to avoid feeling. So if your inner critic is very loud, and like I've worked with so many people on this that have like constant inner critic in their voice, always saying negative things to yourself. So if you're, and believe me, I was one of these. Oh my God, I was one of those. And I said terrible stuff to myself, horrible stuff to myself. So if your inner critic is very loud and very negative, ignoring it is actually quite a good thing at the moment. It's actually a protective response. Okay, so trying to sit with it like the way we do with emotions, is just going to feel like you're trying to turn up the volume on something that's already feeling overwhelming, isn't it? Like noticing if you have an inner critic, someone saying, oh, you know, a voice saying, oh, you're stupid, you're terrible, you're no good at this, you'd never, and you're becoming more aware of it, that's actually turning up the volume on it, isn't it? That's going to make it more overwhelming. So we don't sit with the inner critic. We actually want to create space from the inner critic. We actually want to remove ourselves from we want to remove the inner critic. We want to create distance from the inner critic first. Okay? So an important thing to understand is the inner critic is a part of you, part of all of us, like our inner child, like all of these different parts. The inner critic is also thinks it's helping. This part of us thinks it's helping as well. It's developed this program to try and keep you safe, right? To keep you safe from the rejection, from the hurt, from the disappointment, from the pain. So instead of analyzing what it says or trying to make it stop, we're gonna do a few different things. Okay, so first we want to actually separate from the voice. You actually want to separate from the voice. This is one of the very first things that I did when I first started studying NLP. So most of you know I'm an NLP trainer. I separated from my inner critic voice, which some of you have heard this sounds ridiculous, which was actually not this part, but the first part was when I first became aware of my inner voice. It's a really interesting exercise. I really noticed that my inner voice, my inner critic, sounded like my mother. It was my voice, but it was my voice speaking like my mother. And it made me feel terrible. And I changed my inner voice to the voice of, I know if some of you have heard this story, you're going to laugh at this, of my dog. I know I'm not that crazy, a little bit crazy, but I always imagined if my dog spoke, my dog would speak like this. So I changed the inner critic voice to the voice of my dog if he spoke, and put ahead of it my dog kind of here in my head, in my imagination. So when I would hear my inner critic, it would be kind of funny. I couldn't take it as seriously. It didn't affect me in the same way. So that's a little NLP exercise. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to separate from the inner voice, the inner critic. And instead of agreeing with it and saying, oh yeah, this is true, or this is me, we can say something like, you know, we want to bring observation to it. We want to say, I'm noticing that, you know, that critical voice. And by the way, this is gold. Okay. That and this are probably two of the most powerful words that you can use. My mentorees will know this, right? That and this. So when I say I'm noticing that critical voice, I don't say I'm noticing this critical voice. This brings it closer, doesn't it? It makes it feel like it's here. That makes it feel like it's further away. So they're very important words. That and this are two powerful NLP words that if I'm doing hypnosis or working with somebody, I will use very, very strategically. So say something like, I'm noticing that critical voice right now. And that sentence already creates distance. Do you feel that? Can you get that? Okay, so you're no longer inside the voice. The voice isn't all around you. You're observing it. You've created distance, you've disassociated. So this is awareness without merging into one. Does that make sense? So that's what I would recommend. And the next thing, like when it comes to the voice, I don't really want you to get curious about the content. Something else that I talk a lot about in NLP and subconscious rewiring is the difference between content and context. Content is very rarely important. In other words, like what is the actual voice saying? Is it saying you're stupid, you're not good enough, you could never do X, Y, or Z, you're always going to be alone? What is the voice saying? We're not really concerned or curious about the content of what it's saying. What we do want to look at is maybe get curious about what that voice is trying to protect. So instead of saying something to yourself like, why am I so negative? And by the way, the word why is a terrible word to ask also in this context, because your brain will go looking for answers. So if you say, why am I always like this? Your brain has to find answers. Questions dictate answers to your brain. So we will have to go looking for answers. So never ask that question. Okay, but you might ask something like, what feeling in my body might this voice be trying to stop me from feeling? Because the voice is trying to distract you. Because remember, it's that old programming. So when you get you hear that voice that says something like, oh, why am I always like this? Why am I so stupid? Why do I always go off on one? Why do I always lose my temper? Why do I always put my foot in it? Why do I, make such a mess of things? When you hear that voice, say, okay, I notice that critical voice right now. I notice, and that's immediately going to help you go, my Zoom is doing that. It's kind of doing this thing. I don't know what setting I put it on. It zooms me in and out sometimes. So it immediately is going to zoom you out from the voice, right? And then ask, what feeling is that voice trying to protect me from? And you can get curious about that. So get curious about that. Get curious. And like generally it's something like fear or shame or sadness or vulnerability, right? Or disappointment. So this keeps the whole process emotion-based rather than cognitive. This is not about your conscious mind. This is about the subconscious. This is about what's going on inside your body. So getting back into this body. So we're not arguing with the voice. We don't want to suppress the voice. We want to acknowledge it. We want to notice it, but then we want to ask a good question that separates us and brings us back to what is it trying to help us avoid. Does this make sense? So, and again, you can do things like putting your hand on your chest, like we've been kind of covering over the last few days, maybe looking at 3 things in the room to bring you back into the present, and then go, okay, what is that voice attempting to protect me from? So this question was asked by Liz. You are absolutely right to not want to sit directly with a loud inner critic voice. You're right. We don't want to do that. Curiosity is important, but curiosity has to feel safe. So we never confront the inner critic. We want to create space from it and kind of find out what's underneath. Okay. And the more that your system learns to feel safe, the less that critic will have to kind of shout to try to help you to try and distract you and keep you up here in your head in cognition. Is that a word? Cognition? In cognitive thought rather than in your feelings. Okay. So Liz's question is actually perfect. I'm just thinking like as what's going to come next. So it's perfect bridge into what's coming. So in your program. So what I want all of you to understand is this. The inner critic isn't a problem. It's a messenger. Okay. And most of the time it's speaking on behalf of a younger version of you. a younger part of you, right? It's speaking because we're going to be going into this now, and we're transitioning into this phase in this work, the inner child work. And this is not about going back and reliving the past. It's not about going back and remembering things from your childhood. That's not what it is. It's not about that. Okay, and it's certainly not. We're going to be talking a lot about how we become this way, and our lives, and what our parents, how it brought us up. And it's not about blame, and it's not about going into those old feelings. Okay, but it's about understanding that very early on we learned patterns, we learned coping mechanism, we learned, for example, a need to stay alert, right? A need to be tough on ourselves, a need to stay ahead of disappointment. And that inner critic voice then took on the responsibility for that, of doing that job. So when the voice is loud, it's often because something underneath is very, very soft and tender and very, very vulnerable and hurting a lot. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of the voice? Start by asking of, what part of me learned to need this voice to distract me from the feelings that are going on underneath? That makes sense? So inner child work is all about who you learned to be in order so as to feel safe. Okay. And remember, Liz and all of you, that the critic isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to prevent the hurt. It's trying to stop you from being hurt. Okay. That's what it's attempting to do. And when the adult version of us learns to be present, more steady, more responsive, the critic doesn't have to work so hard to help us to avoid feelings. Okay? Does that make sense? So just for a moment before I go on to any more questions, take a moment to just maybe even just kind of soften, if it's safe to do so, if you're not driving. Okay, close your eyes, or just kind of just loosen up and soften your gaze just for a moment, and notice that critical voice. Think of that critical voice, and just notice it's there. Just notice it's there. And now shift your attention to your body, into your body, from your head down into your body, and ask yourself, what might this voice be trying to protect me from? What might this voice be trying to protect me from? And you don't even need an answer. Even if you're kind of going, I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer. Just notice what you feel. Notice what you feel by doing this. What do you feel? Okay. And then just say to yourself, put your hand on your chest and just say to yourself, I'm here now. I'm here now. And you're not alone. I'm here with you now. And this is what we're doing here. This is the beginning of inner child work. And we're going to be doing a lot of this, okay, over this month. Okay. So, and this is why inner child work is so relevant to receiving, right? We cannot open up to more love, to more money, to anything, if everything is working overtime to try and keep you safe. Okay, we want your system to relax. Okay, so remember, it's not about silencing the critic. It's about kind of like we're growing up. We're outgrowing its job, its old job. We don't need it anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on that question or that answer before I go on to another question that I have here? Do we need to be working on stuff from emails and WhatsApp? I'm a bit confused. So So to reiterate what's in this program, in Open to Receive, there's 3 separate streams, we could say. We have our Zoom calls every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. There's 4 scheduled every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for the month of January. Okay, 4 calls. This is our first of the 4 calls. Now we probably will have 1 or 2 bonus calls. Okay, so, as well. So there's 4 calls scheduled and possibly, very, very, very possibly, at least 1 bonus call. Okay, if not 2. So there's that. So we've got the Zoom calls every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We've got in WhatsApp, we've got the voice notes that I drop in every day. Okay, and the exercises in the voice notes are kind of similar, relative to the exercises that are also in your evergreen course. So your program Open to Receive that you have in your online portal, you keep that forever. You get to keep that. Okay, and those exercises that are in that are kind of similar to the exercises that are in the WhatsApp messages. They may differentiate slightly, but they're in conjunction. They're kind of like, they complement each other. Okay, so there's nothing really in emails. There's very few emails. I might send a couple of emails, but I don't have a scheduled email sequence for you guys for this Open to Receive course. Because of the fact that we have the WhatsApp group, I thought it was easier to post from the WhatsApp. So there's probably very few emails going to be going back and forth. It'll be more through WhatsApp. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, P. So we've got the WhatsApp group for the voice notes every day. We've got the evergreen course that you get to keep, and there is exercises in that. And then you've got the Zoom calls here where you can come and bring your questions, and you can get coached live with me. Okay, Mireia. I think I get overwhelmed by all the things I can do or steps I can take to understand and manage my feelings, guilt, frustration, overwhelm. And I feel like I need to do them all whenever I feel big feelings and I haven't integrated yet. So I go back to reacting because I don't know where to start. What daily ritual do you recommend so I can internalize this process of understanding and connecting instead of reacting and letting those big emotions control me and push good things away? The daily ritual that I suggest is exactly what I'm suggesting right here and now, and what I'm suggesting in the WhatsApp. It is pretty much basically the main key thing is to little and often to open the valves between our head and our body, and to allow ourselves to step and notice what we're feeling, and it's not about going into the feeling. It's not about going into the feeling and being overwhelmed by the feeling. It's about simply observing with curiosity, what are we feeling? Now, most people don't know what they're feeling at the start. Most people do not know what they're feeling. Of course, because in this category, we're all highly intelligent adults, but in this category, we're children. We've never done this work. We've never learned it. So you are actually, when you're tapping into the feelings, like a 3-year-old going, mommy, I've got a pain in my tummy. And your mum might know that you were bullied or something in the playground, and that's why you've got a funny feeling in your tummy. But the funny feeling in your tummy is, sorry, I have somebody in the dark flashing a light at me. I'm presuming it's my partner. All I can see is a torch in the garden. I'm presuming it's him with the dog. So we don't know. We're learning. We're learning that process that we never learned. So of course it feels weird. It feels like, oh, I can't do this. I don't know what it is, because it's like when we learned how to walk. Can you remember learning how to walk? Right? You probably can't. As an adult, we'd probably give up, but us children, we were so determined. As babies, we learned, no matter how many times we fell, it was such a hard thing to do, but we learned how to walk. And it's the same with these emotions. We've got to learn how to just little and often open the valve and go, oh, what's going on down here? And at the start, it's going to feel like, totally, I don't feel anything. I can't feel anything. There's nothing happening. you know, like, I don't know what I'm feeling, but like, I don't know. I just feel a gurgle. I feel heat. I feel cold. I feel a gap. I feel my heart beating. But the more that you tap into it, the more that you open it up, the more you're going to start actually being able to connect. So when you say you get overwhelmed, and what daily ritual do I recommend? Process of understanding and connecting. It's this. Like, we cannot expect to become responsive people. We cannot expect to do an exercise one day and just go, okay, open the valve. Now I've learned how to be a responsive adult. Just like that. It's little and often. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It's going to feel like there's something wrong with me. How come I can't connect? Because you're learning. Because you're learning for the first time in your life. But when we actually learn how to become responsive, and like, believe me, and I say this so many times, like, I'm a human being, and like, I had such a negative voice, and when I did this work, it's changed everything. My level, my capacity to handle things is so much different, because like, than it was 15 years ago. Like, and that is the difference between success and failure. You having a successful life, you having more, if you're here because you want to make money, you have to grow bigger than your problems. Because problems, adversity, if you're here because you want to have love, you have to grow bigger than your problems. Love, money, relationships, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be challenges. We cannot avoid the challenges, but we can grow into human beings that is able to handle those challenges and sit with them. And this is what it's about. This is you want to have a success in your business. You want to have a success in your relationship. I promise you, this is the work. Right? This is how you become successful in any area of your life. Successful people are not people who are reactive. They're people that are responsive. Okay, so does that, Mireia, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if that answers your question. So there are so many daily rituals. Some of you have been in the subconscious shift with me, and at some point in these 30 days together, I'm going to share the rituals that I do every day. But if I give you all the rituals that I do every day, that's probably going to overwhelm you. So what I would say for now is, to answer that question, Mireia, the one thing that you can do is to internalize this, is little and often. And I would literally go so far as like get one of those tomato watches, you know, things, and set it off, or some alarm on your phone, and every 30 minutes, or start with something like that. Literally take 5 seconds. I mean, literally a second to just go, what am I feeling? What's happening down here? And go, oh. Okay, it feels gurgly. Okay, I feel, and if you have a word, it feels stressed, or I feel tense, or whatever comes up, whatever, good or bad, not only when you have negative feelings. And you're not waiting or choosing a feeling, because I think I've had this conversation with Mina, where we're not choosing a feeling in advance, we're noticing what we're feeling. So it's about noticing what you're feeling. And even if you don't know what you're feeling, just go, it's okay. I notice that I'm having a feeling. I don't even know what it is. That's okay. I'm here. And getting comfortable with noticing the feeling. Little and often. It's expanding your capacity. And every single time you're able to sit longer with feelings. And that is the trick, because the problem is when we're reactive, it's like, I can't handle it, and we explode. But when we learn how to sit with it, then we learn, I know this feeling, I'm okay with this feeling, now I can respond, I can count back from 3 to 1, and I can give a proper answer. And it saves marriages. I mean, I can't tell you how many marriages like this has saved over the past 15 years, how many, in relationships it's improved over the past 15 years with people I've worked with. It's night and day. It's everything. Like, I mean, I could list people that have their relationships have soared because of just this, with their partners, with their children, with their parents. And then in business, it's everything. In coaching, in everything, in dealing with problems, it is everything. This is night and day. If you want to have success, this is the key. So Maria, I hope that answered that. Thank you. Basically, notice, acknowledge the feelings as they come up consistently. It won't save my marriage, or maybe it'll find me one. It will definitely find you one. Because men or women or whoever want to be with people who are, a partner wants to feel safe. If you want to attract a partner doesn't want to be with somebody that feels unregulated, that feels like they're going to fly off on one. Ultimately, our subconscious wants to keep us safe, and it doesn't want to be with somebody who gives us the feeling of not safety. The opposite of safety, you know. And our partner, we love clear communication. We love somebody that knows what they want, who's very clear, who's very stable. That is such an attractive thing. It's such an attractive quality in a mate, in a partner. So yes, so, and it's not about basically noticing, acknowledging feelings that come up consistently. So it's not about noticing the feelings as they come up, Maria. It's about consciously, intentionally, you going to notice the feeling before it comes up, because noticing the feelings as they come up is like they've come up already and they've already overflowed and you're out of control. It's kind of like they're already up. But I want you to become aware of going and noticing down. Does that make sense? Rather than when, it's not about noticing when they come up, it's about you purposefully, intentionally taking a second to go and say to yourself, what am I feeling? So it's a slight difference. Does that make sense? It's very different it's one is out of control and one is I'm the one in control. Does that make sense? Aware of the triggers. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that question? Aware of the triggers. Think, basically acknowledge the feelings as they come up. Trigger before the feeling comes up. This is another thing. So we will be going into a lot of this more, but we cannot necessarily stop triggers, because triggers are everywhere. Triggers are everywhere. We are all triggered. There's always going to be someone that's going to give us a look that's like, will remind us of our childhood, or somebody that gave us a dirty look, someone that bullied us, someone that left us, someone that hurt us, somebody that spoke in a certain way. These, in an NLP terms, we call these an anchor. Okay, so we cannot avoid or stop triggers, and we cannot stop being triggered. We can't stop feelings necessarily coming up, but what we can do is we can change how we then respond to the trigger, and when the feeling comes up, we start to able to change it to a different feeling faster. Does that make sense? It's like, I think I was talking to somebody about this today, and I was using these for some reason this morning, and it's like, this is the trigger. Every time that my mother speaks to me in that tone of voice, it makes me lose it, right? For example. So every time the trigger is my mother's tone of voice, and then it makes me have this result, right? I get angry. Let's say my mum speaks to me in a certain tone of voice and I get angry. A is the trigger, B is the reaction. So what happens is, the more that we are able to sit with our feelings, it means that when the trigger comes, because my mother mightn't change her tone of voice, the trigger is still going to come. But at the start, what happens is I'll still get the reaction of angry, but I'm able to go quickly to, I need a third pen. I need to be able to go quickly to over here to calm myself. And then what happens, instead of going straight from A to B, eventually we go ABC, 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 and eventually it's AC, AC, AC. Does that make sense? So, but this is all about learning how to feel. Most of us have avoided it, so little and often. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, I'm going to answer the second question that somebody asked that isn't on this call. And again, it's a great question, so I love it. Okay, and very relative to everything here. So I have a question regarding day 4. This is the question. Maria, that helps a lot. Thank you. I'm glad it helps. Thank you. Okay, I find it very hard to recognize what emotions I am feeling. Oh, I just noticed that I am recording it. Okay, just had a moment there. I have just seen an emotions wheel online, and when reading it, I felt the emotions. I feel regular, possibly have a different label to the anger. I've always called it. Okay. Is it a positive thing to be able to rename my emotions, or am I setting myself up for a fall by delving too deep? Is it wise to keep the core 7 emotions on the wheel as my mainstay, or do you have any other tool that is useful? It was drilled into me from an early age that I am my father's daughter, as always angry, just like your dad. And I've lived that emotion all my life. So easy to see why I don't connect with other emotional states. And it always comes down to anger. Hope that makes sense. Okay. So, who asked me this question? I can't remember who asked me this question. Are you on the call? I'm not sure if you're on the call, but I can't remember who asked me this question. Okay. So this makes complete sense. It makes absolute sense. And again, I'm really, really glad. These are great questions. These 2 questions are really great questions. As you see, we've gone a long time on these questions. So, so I want to say again, first, I always tend to answer questions in 2 parts. Seems to be a habit of mine. Okay, I want to say this, that this is great. This is a really good thing. Again, this is a really good thing. It's a great question, and it's showing that this is a step. You're developing. Okay, you're developing. Okay, so for a lot of us, and especially those of us who are labeled, most of us have been given some sort of label very early on. You're too much. You're too this. You're too la la la. You're like. If we were labeled early on, like, and you were like, for, as you say, like the angry one, or you're just like your dad, right? Or you're difficult, or you're reactive, right? Your system is the shy one. Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, yeah, right. Okay. So yeah. So what happens is your whole system is going to kind of collapse all emotions into one familiar one. So it's like for the person that asked this question, anger is like the umbrella. So, and it doesn't even mean that it's the most accurate word for it, for the feeling that you might be feeling, but it's the most recognizable, the most familiar, so it feels the safest. So like most, definitely with anger is very rarely the first emotion. Anger is very rarely a first emotion. It's usually a secondary emotion, okay, because it's a protector, okay. And remember, I'm a martial artist, so I've taught a lot of this, right? Anger is a protection energy. Underneath anger, there's generally hurt. It's generally fear. There's possibly sadness. There's possibly shame, right? And there's feelings of being unsafe or unseen. But anger is stronger. So anger is stronger. So strength feels safer than being vulnerable, doesn't it? Right? It feels safer. So to answer your question about, you're talking about the emotions wheel, right? And I'll anyone who hasn't heard of the emotions wheel, I might add it in. I might add something about it into the program as well. Okay, so it can be very helpful for us to rename our emotions. And that's getting even deeper into our awareness. This is really important. If we were using something like the wheel, and I might share it with you guys, okay? What we're doing here is a bit like what I was saying about this is exactly what we're doing. It's like the child not knowing what the feelings are. We're using this to give a language to what the body already knows and is experiencing, but we don't know a word for. So it's awareness first we want to work on, and then later we can get more precise in exactly what it is. So in the early stages, it's enough for us, maybe it's enough for you to maybe notice like that this is anger-ish, or this is fear-ish, or this is sadness-ish, right? And as we get more comfortable, as we start to feel safer, your nervous system is going to allow you to get to see more nuance in what the emotions are, because the emotions wheel shows many, but there are 6, 7 core emotions. So for now, it's wiser, yes, for you to keep not heard about the emotions wheel. I'm gonna talk about this for you. Okay, so it's much wiser for you to keep to the core emotions, not all of them. That's too overwhelming. So think of those core emotions as the safety net. Okay, you don't have to label them perfectly. You just want to stay connected. Okay. And if you notice another word from the wheel, I'm going to share the wheel with you guys afterwards on the WhatsApp. If you notice another word on the wheel, like maybe hurt or overwhelmed or anything like that, you can see how that feels, because this is learning. It's like a guide. Okay, so it's just a guide. So, and all of this again links into what we're talking about. Okay, so it's helping us to understand that it isn't just anger, it's hurt. It isn't just anger, it's fear. And then from that, you've already moved from, instead of reaction, into response. Okay, because you're no longer kind of doing an old program. You're responding to what's actually happening now. So in inner child work, we're often like discovering that the emotion that we lived in, the ones that we were labeled with, wasn't who we were. It was actually kind of just who we kind of needed to be or act like to survive. So, okay, to kind of fill the criteria, to follow what we've been told to do, for what was expected of us, what we were brainwashed into being like, what we were labeled, and that felt safe. So you asking these questions, this curiosity, this noticing that it isn't just anger, that's the adult you now stepping in. That's the adult you, and kind of going, oh, okay, maybe it's not just anger. Okay, so we don't lose anger by just looking through and naming different emotions. We want to kind of learn to soften it by understanding again what it's protecting, a bit like the voice. So again, what I would suggest, I would suggest again, like with the voice, with the inner critic, I would suggest that you say something like, is this anger? Is this feeling of anger protecting something else, something softer? Like, is it protecting vulnerability? Is it protecting shame? Is it protecting hurt? Is it protecting sadness? Is it protecting disappointment? And if the answer kind of feels like a yes, then you're doing the work. You're opening up, you're getting more specific. Okay. So some of you might have seen the wheel, some of you may not. I want to explain to you kind of a little bit what it is very, very quickly. So a feeling wheel was created, I don't remember the name of the woman, some psychotherapist or something, and we've got 7 key emotions, and our 7 key emotions are anger, fear, sadness, happiness, Now they vary sometimes. Sometimes different people have different wheels. But I think the core one had 6. Disgust and shame, I think, vulnerability. So, and then it breaks down into kind of smaller subsidiaries of those emotions, and it branches out and branches out. I'll find the one that I'm thinking of, and I'll share it with you guys. Okay, so the goal isn't for us to start renaming everything that we feel right now. And especially if you're feeling just anger for the person who asked this, it's to go from just angry to, oh, this might actually be covering for something else, right? And to start looking a little bit deeper. And that alone is going to shift you away from it just being anger. So, and again, this kind of links back straight back to the inner child work, because often the emotions that we were allowed to feel as children became our default, right? So this is, again, it's about making our system safe enough to hear more than one voice or one program or one thing that we were told over and over and over again. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, and I trust that you all benefited from that. Okay, that kind of makes sense for my shyness. It's just short-term protection. Yeah. So ask, what does the shyness, cover, protect you from what? Right? So, and then allow it to open you up. So it could be like from being hurt. Is it other feelings that are underneath that? So look at what's the other feeling underneath. And it's just for curiosity. Oh, what is this shyness protecting me from? Oh, it's protecting me from being hurt. It's protecting me from being disappointed. Oh, okay, I understand. It's okay. And give the inner child some love and say, I understand why you've been doing this. It makes sense. I'm here now. And all of this is going to open up your capacity to, one, get more nuanced in your emotional capacity, so that we learn to have all feelings and allow all feelings, and we're not putting ourselves in boxes, and we're definitely not living in old labels from our past, right? So does anybody here want to ask any question or say anything or talk about something? Tell me, what do you think of this? Is this making sense? Are you loving this? Are you liking this? Is it beneficial? Is it giving you any light bulb moments? What are you focused on doing tonight, tomorrow, for the next week? Are you looking forward to the next step in the program? We haven't got to the inner child exercise yet. I think it's coming very soon. I think it might be on day 8 or day 9, I think. And that's a big part of this program. And again, for all of you that I know that are here to make loads of money, I promise you, this is going to bring you in the money. Okay, I cannot say it enough. I mean, I want to give you some context. Let me give you an example. So for example, most people that I see, because I do teach strategy. So who's here for the money? Who's here for the money, right? Most people, I do teach, strategy. I do teach like people how to make more money as well, right? But okay, let's say we've got 2 people. Let's say we've got one who's emotionally unregulated, emotionally unaware, emotionally unintelligent. In other words, most of us, before we've done this work, okay, and reactive rather than responsive. So that's a poverty mindset already. It's already a poverty mindset, because a poverty mindset is a child mindset. A poverty mindset is, when I get the lollipop, then I'll be good. Okay? And it's, when I get the money, then I will be happy. And it's, when you let me stay up late to watch the film, then I'll go to bed afterwards. Okay? It's a poverty mindset. Adult version of that, still child version, which is like, when I find my partner, then I'll start to love myself. Poverty mindset. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You're never going to get it. Wealth mindset is, when I do, when I, sorry, rather when I feel, I love myself, when I feel like I love myself and appreciate myself and value and respect myself, then I go and take the actions and I look after my body, I look after my mind, I go to places, I go out and about, and then I meet the person and I meet the man or meet the love of my life. I get the result that I wanted. Wealth mindset, adult mindset. Or with money, when I feel valuable, when I feel worthy, when I feel in my wholeness, in my true me, then I'm going to go and do a Facebook Live and I'm going to talk about my services and my products and all the great things that I have to offer, and I'm going to take the action, and then I get the money. Responsive, not reactive. Reactive is, you know what? I need money. I really need money. I need the ice cream. I want that ice cream now. Give me the ice cream now. Okay, I want the money. Written the post. I knew it. Got no responses. Feck it. I'm no good at this. I'm going to bed. Never going to work. Reactive. The child. The adult is, you know what? Emotionally intelligent. I can hold feelings. It's, you know what? I'm going to get myself in a really good state now. I'm going to go walk my dog for an hour. I'm going to do what I do to get myself in the flow, in the zone. I'm going to get myself really powerfully feeling really good about showing up here and talking to you wonderful people. And then I'm going to deliver gold. I'm going to take action. I'm going to talk about it. And then I'm just going to trust. Because I'm comfortable in my feeling. I'm comfortable in what I've shared. It's an hour and 18 minutes. We've been speaking here. I'm sharing gold. I'm sharing magic with you. I'm sharing everything with you. I'm giving you everything. And then I'm just going to be in my emotional certainty of like, this is good. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be responsive. This is great. And I'm trusting. And then the results come. You guys start to get the results and you start to change. And I feel really good. And we're all happy ever after. That's responsive, right? So one is reactive, one is responsive. So, you know, the person that wants the sale, wants to make the money and just is demanding, it's kicking the parents' shins, saying, I want it now. That's reaction. You lose your temper with your partner. That's reaction. You say things you didn't mean. That's reaction. You know, you can't hold the space, the space in between the doing and the getting it. You're not in expectancy. We've got to get you expectant, like giving birth, like creating something. If you want the result in the outside world, we've got to seed it. We've got to plant it inside, and then it comes out on the outside. This is all emotional maturity, all emotional intelligence. This is the trick to success. I promise you. 30, I'm 53 years old in a couple of weeks. And I'm telling you, I've been in business since I was 19. It was when I opened my first restaurant. Emotional intelligence is the key to your financial success and your relationship success in every aspect of your life. 100 million %. Learning how to sit with your feelings is the key. That's the difference between you having a successful business or not, and a successful relationship or not. So any last questions, words, thoughts, feedback? Thanks for answering, Danielle. That's been very helpful. Was that your question, Rachel? Okay, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember who. I hope that was helpful. It was a great question, very helpful. I will share about the wheel. I'll put it in the group as well, but use it as a guide, and especially just the first 7 until you kind of get comfortable. It's not there to, I have to name it. It's just there as a little guide. It's like to, you know, get the juices flowing. Is it to give you some words to play with? Okay, that's all it is. This has been so enlightening. Thank you. Very much looking forward to the inner child stuff. Feels like it's a big block. Okay, also making a lot of sense so far. Learning a lot about myself recently. More things are making sense alongside realization of probable neurodivergent. I guess we're all on the spectrum some level, aren't we? Right? But yeah, I mean, that's great. It's great to realize it and name it. And yeah, makes you even more phenomenal. And I'm wondering, when you say it feels like a big block, what do you mean by it feels like a big block? I'd love to know what you mean by that specifically, because your words have power. So I'd love to know what that means specifically. Also looking forward to the inner child. It's coming. But share it with me if you like what you mean by that. It feels like a
Yeah.
big block.
It kind of feels like whenever I've done any bits on inner child stuff, it kind of makes so much sense. It kind of feels like there is more to come.
Mm. There is more to come. So I love that. So the biggest problems I see, I'm not saying for you, obviously for any yet, we haven't started it yet. So the biggest problems that I see people have with the inner child work is a couple of things. One, remember we're all children at the moment, right? The inner child in us, the childlike part of us, the undeveloped, immature part of our psyche wants it now, wants it now. So it doesn't want to wait. So the biggest problem I see with inner child work is people don't complete it. Not complete it because we do it for life, is they don't continue it. They do it for a week or two and they want it now, and then they don't get the results that they think they expect to get in a week or 2 weeks, and then they give up. And that's the biggest problem. And again, if we're talking about success in life and business, you've all heard the story of the children with the cookie experiment, right? I'm sure most of you have probably heard this, where they put the two kids in the room, or the kids in the room, and they put the cookies in front, and they said, and they watch the kids and they say, if you don't eat the cookie, when I come back, I'll give you two. And some kids ate the cookie and didn't wait, couldn't hold off. They needed it now. Okay. And some kids waited. And then what they did was they actually did a study on this and watched the kids growing up. And the kids that, which ones were successful, do you think? The kids that ate the cookie or the kids that were able to wait to get the two cookies? Okay, one was reactive, one was responsive. One was not, I want it now, just react, can't control the urge, ate the cookie. And then the ones that were able to delay gratification, hold a feeling, stay with the uncomfortable feeling. It was very funny to watch. You can see videos of it, and they're all squirming, doing all things to distract themselves from the cookie. They're uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable with having to wait, but they can delay gratification. They're able to hold a feeling, and then they got the reward. And they were the ones that were more successful in life. So the inner child work fails people because we are the children, the immature part of us, of our psyche wants it now. So it only doesn't work if we don't continue it. And the other thing that people do wrong, and I just want to make sure that you guys understand this, and I do repeat it in the training and the program, is we're not going into the inner child. We are not going into the past. We are not going into, it reminded me of my childhood and I went back into the being 7 and I remember that event. We're not going there. We're not going into the child's feelings. We're observing the child as an adult. We're staying in the now, in the present, in the adult, and we're observing a child. So I'll be teaching you more about that in the program. But they're the two issues. People stop, and they just stop because they can't wait, or they stop because they go into negative feelings, remembering childhood things, and that's what we're not doing. We're not doing that. So just to give you a heads up on that. Okay. Okay, instant gratification experiment can be viewed online. It's called the marshmallow test. Marshmallow test. I'll look for that as well. I posted it in the WhatsApp group. It's great. It's great fun to watch the video of the kids making loads of sense, putting into practice the habit I need to change. So the main practice that I want you guys to keep doing is, as I was saying to Maria, little and often. Just the more often that you just stop, take a breath right now with me. Notice where your energy is. Is it in your head or is it in your stomach? And just imagine observing down into your stomach and noticing what you're feeling. Looking down with curiosity, what are you feeling? What are you feeling down in your stomach? And even if you can't name it, even if you don't know what the feeling is, just go, okay, I notice that I'm feeling nothing, or a churning, or a tension, or a stress, or a warmth, or anxiety, or whatever it is. Even if you don't have a name for the feeling, just notice what you're feeling. Just go, I'm here. I'm here now. It's all good. I'm here now in the present. It's all good. That's all I want you to do for now. The more often that you do that, the better, because every time it's like you're opening the valve, opening the valve, opening the valve, and you're learning how to sit with feelings. And this is the key to success. Okay? In love, in money, in every aspect of your life, learn how to sit with the feelings. Not go into the feelings, sit with the feeling, observe the feelings, and just get curious about them. That's all. Okay? I trust that today was of benefit. I'm looking forward to speaking with you more and watching how you're progressing along this wonderful program. I will see you tomorrow morning in the WhatsApp group with your next voice note. Our calls are every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And message me, post in the WhatsApp group any questions, any thoughts, any feedback. Was it good or was it good? Very quiet people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we observe our child feelings of how we reacted to things and look at them as an adult now? I wouldn't do that yet. I wouldn't do anything like that yet. Okay, so we don't want to go anywhere that we haven't been fast, because that's another problem. That's why people get put off, because like you get a rush of emotions that we're not going into it. So we're just noticing, come back up. Notice, come back up. It's like dipping your foot in the water. That's all we want to do. Okay. Fabulous. I look forward to seeing you on our next call and in WhatsApp tomorrow morning. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Okay.
Thanks, Danielle.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.